Is there a motion to adopt Resolution 2024-58, authorizing a levy of property taxes in support of the 2025 budget year for Shawnee County that exceeds the revenue neutral rate of 46.561 mil?
Do we want to have any discussion before making a motion?
Councilman?
Usually have a motion in a second, then you have discussion.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll second.
Commissioner Rippon has made a motion to approve Shawnee County Resolution 2024-58, authorizing a levy of property taxes in support of the 2025 budget for Shawnee County that exceeds the revenue neutral rate of 46.51 mils. Commissioner Mays has seconded that motion. Is there any discussion on the county commission? Is there any commission discussion on the motion to adopt the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate? Commissioner Mays.
I mean, a lot of good conversation today. I mean, I think that the comments are well received. I think I certainly agree with a lot. Property taxes are too high. Some things need to change though. And as much as we think that as much as people think that we have all of the control here, what we can control is our budget. And then we can, hopefully at some point create more revenue. And the revenue comes from growth, which is it's a long game. I mean, we can't just grow the tax base overnight. It's multiple years. And also by cutting spending, we're cutting services. I mean, I've been through this budget 5 years now. There's not a lot of waste. I mean, you can ask our department heads. We are pretty thorough in our budgets, I feel like. And just looking at this particular budget, if you look at some of the bigger increases, we've got a $900,000 increase to Department of Corrections. We've got $500,000 extra to the district attorney, which is to pay for a new software that they can investigate crime through body cam footage. The sheriff has a $1.2 million increase. So total those up, $2.6 million is just going to law enforcement. And, I think we set a record for murders this year in Shawnee County. I mean, that's an easy place to cut, right? $2.6 million, and that gets us to a pretty good place on this budget. But I don't want to do that. I mean, it's frustrating. The other thing that, that commission was mentioned, the county counselor, I believe, did research that last year. That was put in the statute for the unification of Wyandotte County, for Kansas City, Kansas, and Wyandotte County.
Well, it says, pardon, all
Objection,
counties,
you are not allowed to speak from the audience.
170 or more to 200,000.
Sir, please restrain yourself.
So, which I believe was narrowly crafted to meet the population of Wyandotte County at the time. But I fully understand that that's what's in statute there. So, not that I'm opposed to a commission looking over our budget. I mean,
He's an angry man.
perhaps that would be easier for us. I don't know. We spend a lot of time on this budget. We've been working on it for 2 months now, since July. So I'm happy to find cuts if there are realistic cuts. A suggestion was made last year by Ms. Griffith that we digitize our Parks and Rec catalog. We did that. I took her suggestion, and it saved us approximately $30,000. We have a problem in that we're, I believe, one of the only forms of government that don't receive sales taxes The state of Kansas also receives income taxes. We had the local ad valorem tax reduction fund, the special city county revenue sharing funds that are on the books at the state of Kansas. They chose, although hearing from everybody that they wanted decreases in taxes, the legislature chose to reduce income taxes instead of property taxes. That was an easy way. That would have been about $8 million that would have come to Shawnee County to reduce property taxes. I'm hoping that when the legislature comes back, they'll revisit our taxation and perhaps, it seems to me that people, just generally speaking, myself included, are frustrated by property taxes. I'm a homeowner, and I pay a lot in property taxes. I don't like it any more than anyone else. The other options, though, to fund the government are sales tax and income tax. And so, it's a pick your poison type of a situation, I guess, to pay for the services that we receive. Unfortunately, at our level, we really only have one option.
Look how mad that guy is.
Let's look at cutting. We've got a pretty significant budget. And we are lowering the mill levy. I know everybody says that's disingenuous to say, but it's true. And so, the other increase that I didn't mention was Vallejo. Vallejo's request last year was $2.25 million, which I believe is an increase from $2 million the year before. They requested $3 million this year because of the uninsured population that they're treating. People are not paying their bills at Vallejo. And also, we look at that and I think, substance abuse treatment and mental health treatment is an important thing that we pay for. I would hope that the state of Kansas would step up and help out with that as well. That would require, most likely, expanding Medicaid, which they've been unwilling to do. So, and I'm not going to get into a discussion on whether that's right or wrong, but it is costing us money at this level. So, those are my comments. Be interested to hear what you guys have to say.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize probably 90% of what we do is required by the state. We're required to have a jail. We're required to have a sheriff's department. We're required to have election
Sir.
officers.
You cannot restrain yourself.
I've said nothing.
Waving your clipboard is distracting to the audience.
I'm sitting in the back. Nobody sees me.
You guys want another term of that?
Election office, the health department, a weed department. It goes on and on.
Such an angry fella.
About the only thing we're not required is probably Parks and Rec. But when you talk about quality of life, that's Parks and Rec. When you talk about trails, swimming pools, kids programs, softball, baseball, girls softball, that's quality of life. And I don't feel like cutting there very, very deep. The other thing is inflation. The same inflation that hurts you hurts us. We're major consumers. We're buying a lot of asphalt, we're buying a lot of gravel, we're buying salt, we're buying a lot of things that you guys don't buy, but believe me, the price of it's all gone up. The other thing is just salaries for employees. In order to attract people and to keep them, our salaries have had to keep pace with the private sector and other government sectors. And sometimes that catches up with us, and we have a lack of people. We had that problem in the jail a few years ago. We were 70 people down. We had to raise those salaries to get people, and now we're doing much better. We're, I think, under 10. And usually that's pretty much full, but you always can have something like that. But, the state can help us out a lot. They didn't do us any favors by doing what they had to. Of course, they hadn't paid it. It was on the books of state law for 20-some years, and they never did give us that money. They said, oh, we just use it as a slush fund. I don't see us using it as a slush fund. We could have had the zero neutral rate had we got the ad valorem tax, but we didn't get it. But they want to reduce our property tax, but they didn't do it. You only slept Sunday night.
7.6.
They can pony up. And, you know, we're not the only ones that dig into this property tax.
Take my
It's the
offer
city,
of
it's the library, it's the airport, so we're not the only ones who use that money. And, I get tired of people saying, you know, to reduce property tax, you need to go talk to your county commissioners, because we're just a part of it. There's a lot of other entities that are digging into that property tax. And be aware of that, but I think we do a good job of keeping this budget tight. We're looking over it. We spend a lot of hours combing over this, and we're not free spending
over,
like
they don't have any hair.
We're not doing that.
Much like the other two commissioners, my comments will echo some of the same sentiments. I'm going to start with our Register of Deeds. Becky Niosi, when she took office, had an office of, I believe, at least 5, if not 6 employees. Her office is now 3. And I can see it even going possibly down to 2 at some point. The clerk's office has more staff than it has now. The Shawnee County Department of Corrections had 84 vacancies last year. When you have 84 vacancies, your officers are working overtime, forced overtime. That forced overtime actually caused the Department of Corrections to go over budget last year. This year, we have filled those positions. We filled those positions through a number of means. Recruitment, adding bonuses at signing, keeping people on, trying to keep people retention. We now have 4 positions open. That's not to say that we're not taking applications, because we are. I know that if Brian Cole was in the room right now, he would tell you we're still taking applications at the Department of Corrections. The City of Topeka Law Enforcement, Topeka Police Department, their sworn officers have over 40 vacancies. The Shawnee County Sheriff's deputies do not. Part of that is in retention. Part of that is in recruitment, but there's a lot of work that goes into filling a staff. Those are things in law enforcement, and if you look at the budget, you'll see that law enforcement makes up a lot of what our budget consists of. I agree with the sentiments of Commissioner Rippon. Parks and Recreation is the quality of life. That's what attracts people to your community and retains people in your community. You want to be able to see quality of life. And if you look at what people are moving to, people are moving to be able to have amenities. Are there walking trails? Are there things for my family to do? This last Sunday, the pickleball courts were full. Family Park was full of families enjoying time together. And that seems to be what we would want as a community. Now, when you look at the inflationary costs as spoken to by Commissioner Rippon, yes, we have been struck by inflation just the same as everybody else. Go to your local grocery store. Is the price of milk, bread, eggs, cheese the same as it was a year ago? Or has it increased? It's hard to walk through your grocery store and find something less than $5.99. Most things are more expensive than they were a year ago. Holding true to a revenue neutral rate is an ideal. Not spending more than you did the year before, dollar for dollar. That's a great ideal. And we should be held accountable to that. And we should be able to explain to the community why we are spending $1 more than we did the year before. And that's the purpose of this hearing. That's the purpose of the budget. The budget doesn't start in August. The budget actually starts in January. County Commissioners are meeting with the department heads beginning in January when they start working on preparing their budget. A preliminary draft starts in March. The budgets are received by the commissioners in their draft form in May. Public hearings begin in June and July. Public hearings are attended by the public, they're recorded online for the public to be able to see. And these department heads, every single department head explains. Ms. Griffith asked, why don't you talk about where the runs are? The public has the ability to watch, review at any time from the leisure of their home, at the community library, any other community center that has the connections to be able to view the internet. What was discussed? Why are they asking for more? We make these as open and transparent as we possibly can so that the public knows exactly where their dollars are going. But we also have to look at, outside of inflation and filling those spots, what are the obligations put upon us by the state government? There has been more and more pushed down upon your local governments by the state. You can go back to even looking at mental health, going back to the mid-90s, when we started closing state hospitals. Shawnee County was once known as the mental health center of the capital, if not the United States. Through Meningers, through the state hospital, but we defunded, the state defunded mental health and put those burdens upon the local government. We now have over $2 million a year that's going to Vallejo just to assist with mental health, drug and alcohol counseling, and those things that would otherwise have been the obligation of the state. We committed to building a $20 million mental health facility attached to our jail. 3 decades ago, that would have been the mental health facility of the state hospital. Again, the state has put the burden upon your local government. The local government does not have the ability to raise or create income. Mr. McClure said we should be an income generator. We don't really, by state statute, have the ability to generate income. We are very limited in those things that we can get into. We are not able to create leasing entities and
That's a
start
bunch of
creating,
bullshit.
Landlord entities of that nature. And I don't know that the public would want us to get into land speculation. If you look at people that get into land speculation, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And when it comes to public tax dollars, you better not lose.
If we're not into income generation, let's
So-
defund Go Topeka.
Finally, we have to look at the state, there was comments about the taxes that are on vehicles. That is not something that is within the confines and controls of the Shawnee County. That again is a state formula. What we look at is our property taxes and the mill levies that are assessed upon. With that, those are my comments. Is there any further discussion from the commissioners?
What about amigos?
Alderman Schmidt.
A couple things that you guys reminded me of. One is the hotel was mentioned. We did not buy the hotel.
I know.
We had the possibility of doing it, and we chose not to. And then also the budget transparency. This year, we purchased a new budgeting software, which should definitely modernizes the way that we're doing things for our budget, and it's been a little bit of a process getting it onboarded, but we are getting more and more transparent by the day within our budgeting. So just those two things I wanted to add.
Any further discussion? Hearing no further discussion by the commissioners, I would ask the clerk to call the roll on the motion to adopt the resolution to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
Yes. The vote to adopt the Shawnee County Resolution 2024-58, authorizing a levy of property taxes in support of the 2025 budget year for Shawnee County that exceeds the revenue neutral rate of 46.561 mils, passes by a vote of 3-0. Is there a motion to close the is there a motion to close the public revenue neutral rate hearing? I'll make that motion.
Second.
There's been a motion made by Commissioner Rippon to close the public revenue neutral rate. That motion has been seconded by Commissioner Mays. Please call roll call.
Cook,
Yes.
Mays,
Yes.
Rippon,
The vote to close the public revenue neutral rate hearing passes 3-0, therefore the public hearing is closed.